you know that only 10% of you have subscribed? So if you're part of the 90 that isn't, please consider subscribing today. Hey, it's BC here, and today I'm doing a video on Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy Kingdom Ultra Magnus. So here he is in his car carrier mode. Not the same car carrier as his original G1 form, but it doesn't look too bad. One thing that you may notice is that it doesn't really look like it could hold that many cars. Now here is probably one of the smaller cars I have. This is Transformers Prime Wheeljack. As you can see, it can sit comfortably there or back here, but you couldn't really fit two, and you definitely can't fit one inside. Now, as you can see, I did pull off this gun from the top. You can store it here or back here or on any of the other weapon ports it has, like here, same on the other side, or here, or you could put them up here. I believe that might be it. You know, besides ones that are a bit difficult to reach, like there or underneath. Now the instructions say to put these missiles back here, but I think they look a lot better at the front. It sort of emulates the G1 Ultra Magnus a little more. Now, of course, for size comparison, here he is next to Optimus Prime with his trailer. Both leader class figures. And yeah, you can see that this cab is a little bit taller, but the overall size isn't too dissimilar. Ultra Magnus is a little longer, but not by too much. And here he is next to leader class Studio Series Overload. And yes, I did take apart Devastator for this review, and I may or may not have planned to film this review ages ago, so Devastator has been deconstructed for a while. And finally, just to show off again, here he is next to Wheeljack. Doesn't look too bad. Now let's move on to the actual cab mode. Let's take a closer look at that. To detach it, you want to lift up this red section and detach these side panels from this little slot here and this little clip piece here. I'll do the same on the other side. Attach it like this. And then this back piece will come off, and if you're not going to transform it into Robe Mode, you can just take this piece and clip it back inside like that. Put that off to the side. So here is Ultra Magnus's cab mode. And as you can see, it's not great, it's not an amazing cab. You can see the feet are sticking out, there's a large gap in the middle, and the hands are also sticking out. Now, I like to have the hands like this, but in the instructions it does say to have them like this, which I don't think looks all that great. Moving them this way kind of just hides the fists a little bit more. It would have been nice if maybe they could fold into the arms, but then maybe the hands in the armored up mode would look a bit small, but they could have added extra ones, like on the armor pieces. Anyway, you can see it here, it's got these wheels on the side. It's got these clips that stick out, and the feet kind of stick out a bit. The Autobot symbol on the back here. These two little smokestacks right in the middle. It doesn't look awful. An Autobot symbol down here as well. This seam is a bit unsightly, but it's not that bad. And here he is next to Optimus. I think Optimus definitely has the much better cab mode. Maybe at some point they'll repaint this as just Ultra Magnus on his own. Maybe they'll paint the trailer blue and red to emulate his car carrier. But yeah, I think this cab mode definitely looks a lot better, because this is kind of what you're meant to see. This is the whole vehicle mode, whilst this guy also has that, the armor. Here he is next to Wheeljack. You can see he's quite a bit longer than a little bit longer than a deluxe class, or at least an older deluxe class. I think most modern deluxe classes are a bit smaller than this, but unfortunately I don't own one. You can see it's quite a bit taller as well. And finally, again, here he is next to Overload. see Overload is much, much bigger. Now to transform this guy into his first robot mode, what you're going to want to do is come to the legs and just split them in half like this. You can see there are these tiny little pegs in here that will go into those slots there. You're just going to move the legs down on these ratchets. Come to these arm pieces and move them out. Then you're going to move them up a bit. Take the entire top half of the cab and it will move around like that. Then you want to take this piece, move it down. Then you'll just fold the head out like this and it will move back up and clip into place. These arms will then fold forward on these pieces. You can move them down and turn the fists around. On this side, down, turn the fists around. And it comes to the back piece here, and the front piece of the truck mode will slide up on this piece here, like that. And then you want to push this piece back. You cannot slide this when this piece is up, and when it's pushed in, so it stays in there nicely. Then you want to come to the bottom of the feet and just flip out the heels. And there's Ultra Magnus in his first robot mode. Now in his robot mode, Ultra Magnus is, well, how can I put this? A little bit chunky. But that's not to say that this is a bad look for the character. I kind of like the more robust sort of look that his sort of overall body shape gives off. It's a kind of a shame that there's this big slab of vehicle mode parts on the back. Maybe it could have folded in half to fill out this space a bit, but that would have compromised the waist swivel. Speaking of the waist swivel, let's talk about articulation. The head is on a ball joint, so it can move up and down as well as side to side and left and right. The arms are on a swivel at the shoulder, as well as a hinge at the shoulder, so it can move out. A swivel above the elbow, as well as a bend at the elbow, and a swivel at the wrist. Now there's sort of a faux butterfly joint here, so you can get the arms to move out, but it doesn't really look all that good. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, there is a waist swivel that goes 360 degrees. The legs are on ratchets, so they can move forward and back slightly, but this chunk here kind of gets in the way a bit. There's also a bend at the knee, 90 degrees, as well as a ankle pivot, and there's a heel bend, I guess, but I don't think you could really get much use out of that. So the articulation on this guy isn't all that bad. It could maybe be a little bit better, like for a leader class figure, they could have implemented opening hands, but it's not the end of the world. Now for size comparison, here he is next to Optimus Prime. You can see that they definitely look very, very similar, but they are obviously different figures. I feel like these legs might be slight remolds of these legs, but do you know what? No, I don't think they are. By the looks of it, these two characters use completely different parts except from the heads. The heads do look to be the same piece, even the same paint chipping on both of them, unfortunately. Here he is next to Deluxe Class Prime Wheeljack. And here he is next to Overload, Studio Series Overload. They're actually not that dissimilarly height-wise at the head, but of course Overload is a lot thicker. Taking a more close-up look at this guy, the paint on the head sculpt as well as the chest is really, really nice. Even the crotch has some really nice light blue painting. Of course, maybe it would be a bit nicer to see some more paint on this guy to break up some of the white a little bit more, but that's kind of the point of this guy. He's supposed to be a ghostly white version of Optimus Prime. But he does have this nice trans-clear blue plastic. Maybe it would have been nice if they implemented a way to open up the chest so you can put the Matrix of Leadership in there. Even though he never wields the Matrix of Leadership, he does put it in his chest in the movie. These red eyes, they really do pop along with the light blue face guard. It's very nice. They even painted the borders to the windows. Although it would have been nice if maybe they painted the bottom of the window cleaners or wipers. But that's, this isn't the reason you buy this figure. You buy this figure for the Ultra Magnus form. So, let's transform this guy. The first thing you want to do is fold away the heels and bring the chest forward. Then you're going to want to take this back piece and move it down. Open up the arms, open up the chest, and the head will just fold away. And then you just want to close all of this back up. And then finally, come to the crotch, move it down. This is really cool. Turn it around, and it will fold straight back up like that. And then he is done. Then you want to come to the trailer. You're going to want to first lift this piece up, separate these out, and pull out these pieces. This piece will split into two. Then you're going to come to this, take off the missiles, like that. Come here, these little blue pieces here will detach from the red piece, and that will also detach these bits here, like this. And then you're going to want to pull this white piece off of the red piece like that. Same on this side. Sometimes it can be a bit difficult, especially since this plastic doesn't feel the best. This little piece of plastic doesn't feel the best, and I feel like it might break if I'm not careful enough. Then come to the bottom and detach these pieces here. Now that all of that's detached, you want to transform it. So you want to come to these pieces. This will fold in like that. It'll fold back. This will fold round. It will fold in like that. And this piece will just fold round and tab into place like that. Then you want to do the same on the other side. Fold, 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 and then that will just fold round, collapsing the entire sides of the vehicles into these legs. Next, you want to come to this piece. You'll fold in this piece, fold this piece back, and then that's pretty much it. It does seem like I forgot to turn the head round in vehicle mode. I usually like to have it this way so that when these pieces are plugged in, it hides the face a bit easier, or more, hides the face more. But it's not necessary. It's not a necessity. It doesn't even say in the instructions. So now you're going to combine all these pieces onto him. Take the leg pieces. They will just fit round like that. Same on this side. They will just go on like this. Then with these pieces, you just want to open them up. And they will fit over here. Same on this side. Just like that. And then take the shoulder pieces, fold this up like that, and this will just slide over, and then this will plug into place there. Now you want to take a missile and it will just plug in like that. Now you do want to plug the missile in after you plug the shoulder piece on, because if this goes too far in, it will get in the way when you're trying to put this on and make it difficult to fold this piece up, and it can get a bit tricky. So you just want to make sure that this is on before you put the missile in, like that. And then you come to this piece. There's this section here that will clip over this piece on the back, just like that. And then it will fold over and down onto the chest like that. So here is Ultra Magnus in his Robe Mode, looking really, really nice. I do think that it captures the essence of Ultra Magnus whilst not necessarily being super cartoon accurate. I still think it looks really nice. He does have this sort of really chonky sort of look to him, again, similar to the more basic Robe Mode. Now, unfortunately, the articulation from that original mode is a little bit more limited. Like, the legs have similar movements here. I guess I also forgot to mention that they move out. But the knee bend is a bit more limited with this giant piece here and also this piece here. Now, this piece at the back also limits the waist swivel. You see, you have to lift this back piece up to get any sort of waist swivel, which sort of lifts up the top bit here. And the arms have the same movement as they did before. Nothing's really changed there. And the head is also the same, even though it's a different piece. It has the same movement. Now the head does actually have some light piping. If I can show this off, you can see. Very nice. And I forgot to mention the feet. They also have a ankle pivot, but they are also constantly at a slant, which means you do have to sort of have his legs pointed out a little bit. Now for size comparison, here he is next to Optimus, as well as Optimus's trailer. Just thought I'd bring this in to sort of show you that. You see they do sort of have a similar sort of overall mass if you count the trailer. But yeah, Ultra Magnus is much taller than Optimus in this form, which I think is fitting. Next up is Wheeljack. There's Wheeljack. As you can see, he completely towers over Wheeljack. And finally, here he is next to Overload. See, he is taller than Overload, but still not quite as wide as Overload. So, of course, we can bring back Ultra Magnus's gun, which I guess I kind of forgot to show in a smaller form, but whatever. See, the gun fits in his hand. It's a little bit floppy, mine, which is a shame. And if I'm being completely honest, I think it just doesn't work all that well. Like, to me, it looks too small to be a handheld. No, it looks too big to be a handheld gun, but also too small to be like a giant, take this, bah, sort of gun, you know? I just think it looks a little bit awkward. I also think it would have been really nice if he came with a hammer, because Ultra Magnus has kind of been known nowadays to carry a hammer with Animated and Prime, and even in the comics, I think. But this guy just doesn't come with one, and even the original Siege one had some big, like, missile launchers, which it's kind of weird that this guy doesn't come with. Like, he's a retool of the Siege version. Why wouldn't he come with why wouldn't he come with them? But, that's besides the point. I still think the gun is alright. Besides it being a little awkward, I think it's alright. The painting on this guy is really nice as well. You can see he's got these red details and silver details on the legs, as well as this entire red piece here actually being painted red. I believe it's actually blue for cast molding. You can lift this piece up as well. So if they did have the sort of opening windows, you could lift this up and then place it in. But yeah, whatever. The head is painted quite nicely with that silver face. And these entire white columns here are also painted white. They're actually blue, which is kind of weird. Like, why did they paint all of the inside? I feel like that's not necessary. And these little red bits here are also painted. But yeah, I gotta say, this guy is quite nice. You can get some pretty good poses out of him. And it's just a really nice figure. I've definitely been enjoying it recently. Now, the weapon ports, there's one on the side of his leg here. There's two on the bottom of his feet. One on the back of his leg. One on his back. There's one on the side of each arm, as well as his hand. And then there's the two on his shoulders. And then there's also these two pegs at the top as well, that you could, like, plug the gun into like that. I guess I also forgot to mention the regular Robe Mode ones. Let's quickly take a look. There's one here and one on the bottom of the foot. I believe there's one on the shoulder, I think, and there's one on the side of the arm. But there's none on the back, I think. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Ultra Magnus. There's not really much else I can say for this guy, so I guess that's Salut BC out.